Hello and welcome. This video is giving you a little bit of a rundown of how I would flow through a yoga sequence that I've outlined and a template that I've created, and how it kind of flow through in practice without having to do the entire hour long or 75 minutes, however long the class is. So I've created sort of a go-to yoga class from the template or from the outline that I have structured, and it includes 10 steps. It's a 10-step guide to yoga class sequencing. You can actually find that and more at ashesyoga.com. And you can also find an awesome video about that. I've also broken it down even farther. So there's 3 sections of a yoga class: the warm-up, the middle section, and the cool down, which is warm up, like heat building or active poses, and stretching and relaxing. And then among those, there's like 3 to 4 steps in each section, and then in each step there's like 3 to 5 poses or components to each of those. So I've developed a go-to sequence for a vinyasa or a power class that I'm going to practice right now, and it's an hour-long class, but it shouldn't take me an hour long to do this. It should maybe take about 15 minutes. So I will run you through that so you get a feel of how I'm doing it and how I do it at home. So when I come up with a sequence, if it's something that I want to practice and see if it flows well, then I'm going to do this. I just pick a spot at home and practice the flow through. And I'm not going to repeat anything that I have in there to repeat. I'm not going to hold the poses, so that's why it doesn't take very long. I'm not going to talk a whole lot. I'm just going to quietly, usually I do it quietly, I'll talk through this, but quietly just flow through my outline or my ideas and add or subtract, or maybe I would have a pencil next to me and be writing down or changing some things if I want to change anything. So if this helps you, that would be awesome. Let me know if this is helpful for you. If you haven't received the email or this class outline that I'm actually going from, you can sign up for my email list at ashesyoga.com, and you'll get that eventually in a few days. And yeah, let's get to practicing. One of the main things I do want to say is that you can go through these poses and do this in a very light way. So you're not getting super deep into the poses, you're not like overstretching or over-strengthening, but at the same time you don't want to get sloppy. So yes, you can not bend as deep in your warrior poses, or you can kind of modify some of the poses, but when you start getting sloppy and kind of blah with it, that's when we end up getting injured. So be careful and be mindful of your body as you do this. So in my sequence, I have a starting in child's pose, extending the arms, forehead down, and I talk about the breath and all of that stuff here. Then coming up into hands and knees. We do cat and cow, and I probably do that 4 or 5 or a few more times, but just here I'll do a couple. And then continuing a warm-up for the spine, simple spinal warm-ups. I'll do hand and elbow and knee extensions and pulls. I don't know the exact name of that. So it's opposite knee, opposite hand reaching, and then pulling in a few times on each side. I could even hold it here if I wanted. So awesome. And I know this warm-up is good. I've done it many times. And notice that I'm not actually using my breath when I'm flowing either. To me, that doesn't matter so much. It's just checking the movements. It's okay to breathe, and probably good to breathe in a yogi way. It's hard when you're talking though. So from here, down dog quick, roll yourself up from ragdoll pose. Hopefully you can see me still. I might be a little bit cut off, but here I do like a simple Tai Chi warm-up, which is something I like to add. I don't have it in the 10 steps. So I'll do brush hands. I have that in my go-to guide. It's a way of making my classes unique and different than many other vinyasa flow classes. So I do some brush hands. And because we're doing a bird of paradise flow, I actually want to get deeper into the hips. So after a few of those, I'm going to go into a squat and just hold and see people's and check people's hip and hamstring flexibility through this pose. See how open people are. Back to a forward fold and rolling up. Then we get into sun salutations, and I'll just do one of each. I have in my list that I'll do 3 sun A's and 2 sun B's, kind of traditional style. So reaching up, sun salutation A. Go through that, and it's a quick version. You can even take the knees down. Hold for however many breaths in down dog that you want. Then Sun Salutation B, I have in there that I would do 2 of these. You can always add more. In Ashtanga Yoga, they do 5 Sun A's and 5 Sun B's. Or you can just skip the Sun Salutation. That's how awesome yoga is you don't have to do anything. Just make sure that you understand the body well enough to understand when it's warm and what you need to prepare to do specific poses so you don't get hurt. So this is Sun Salutation B. We're adding Warrior 1. We do a couple of those. And then we get into standing poses. The first standing pose sequence, I'm going to flow through that Sun Salutation highway is what I call it, or a vinyasa, to get back down to downward facing dog. Now I personally like more core heat and activation in the core. So before we do our first standing pose, I'm going to add some tiger knees or knee to nose a few times. Knee to nose or knee to elbow. We want that core heated. And then we step forward into our first standing pose sequence. The first pose I have down is Warrior 2, so I transition through Warrior 1 to go to Warrior 2. I would usually hold here a few breaths. We're not going to right now. Then I flow to Reverse Warrior, hold, and I come forward back to Warrior through Warrior 2 to side angle. Feels awesome already. Lift up, a very common warrior sequence. Warrior pose sequence, triangle pose, and then half moon for balance. Step back down, hands to the floor, vinyasa or Sun Salutation highway. And then same on the other side. So we go to Warrior 2, Reverse Warrior, side angle, back to Warrior 2 to help transition into triangle and half moon. Simple, and that would take a while, but like I said, we're flowing. In between our 2 standing sequences, I have some core work. You're going to come down to the elbows, elbow plank, and then transitioning side to side to side plank. Other side. And I think I would want to do kind of like a side to side thing. Up and down, up and down. So I do that a few times, check in with people, see how they're doing. Come back to regular forearm plank, walk the feet in. We've got dolphin pose, making sure to press the chest towards the knees. And then dolphin push-ups. I'm not sure how much I would do with these. I would want to check in with the students and see what the energy level is. But after doing some core work, some plank work, some elbow plank work, and I could add more depending on how everyone's doing. I'm going to do a child's pose. And then another standing sequence. Here we go. Down dog. Step, let's see, right foot forward. I have crescent lunge to start with. Crescent lunge. Good. And then hands to your heart. Let's twist it. Option to open up. There's always options in each pose. Back to the center. Hands behind the back. Press down, look up, open the heart. And then come forward. Shift forward, Warrior 3. You're going to keep the hands behind the back if you can. Cool, cool. And then release it. Step back, reach up. Hands back to the floor. And we do that same thing again on the other side. So this is keeping it simple. To me, this is keeping it simple. Because you can add a bunch of flares to things, but meh. Hands to the heart. Twist. Option to open. Back to center. Hands behind the back. Press down, and notice my lunge is not very deep. Lean forward, lift off. Opposite thumb on top. Awesome, okay. And we go through the flow again. How about the next sequence we have is leading to our peak pose. So we lift one leg, bend the knee. I have wild thing here as an option, but really I just want like we can stay in single leg down dog with an external rotation. Come to wild thing. And then lift back up, step between the hands. From warrior one, this is just transitioning. We would hold and side angle, where you could take a bind. I don't feel like binding today, but in class I might, so I might be more warm. So I would just take a half bind and call this good. But then check and see, okay, right? Let's bird of paradise. Cool. I don't have to go all the way into it. I'm just practicing this myself at home. And then step back. Open up, lift back up, and we do the other side. I don't know why I need to do all the chaturangas, but I put them in. You can always just delete them if they're not your thing. Warrior one, warrior two. No, not reverse or side angle. Bind. Bird of paradise. Optional. And back down. Vinyasa or not. And then we're cooling down. Pigeon pose. I would just do right and left side. So if you want to add some variations in your pigeon pose, cool. We just make it a nice stretch. Other side. Okay, feels good. And then we'll bring the knees down, sit down, swing the legs around. Some seated poses. So we have bound angle. And now I'm noticing like my shoulders are feeling something. So maybe in this pose, I'm doing a shoulder stretch. You can also add a thread the needle. I'm not sure, and maybe it's not a thing. But for me, I'm like, all right, I've been on my hands a little bit. Perhaps I should do some shoulder stretching. So you could add some bound arms. But this is where this flow comes in. This is where it's like, okay, what am I feeling at this point, even if I'm doing it really quick and flowing through, and what could be added to target that muscle group or that stretch or that thing that's needed. Okay, then I have head to knee pose. And then I have a twist, seated twist. Now I switch sides. And see, was that all I had? And reverse plank. Ow. How about reverse tabletop? Maybe I'm just sore from other things. Okay, from there, lower into the ground, hug the knees, rock side to side, feels good. Bridge pose or wheel pose, lift up, and then down. You can do a bridge or a wheel pose here, and then down. All right, let's go legs up. I'm gonna have a little bit more core work because I can. Open the arms, let's go side to side. Bent knees or straight legs for those side to side. Since we're doing a power yoga class, usually the difference between power yoga and vinyasa to me is that you add more core strengthening and possibly more push-ups or chaturangas in your practice. Doesn't mean that you're going faster or slower or anything. Just means it's just a little more powerful, more active pose, active stretching. Okay, from there, legs at the wall. Or shoulder stand. So I just ate, so it's hard for me to want to get upside down. So legs up the wall. And I know the warm-up and the cool-down are so many times the same or can be similar that I know it works. So I don't necessarily have to practice them a whole lot. Hug the knee in, twist to the side. Supine twist. Other side. There's only so many things you can do when you're lying on your back. And I want most of my class to be that active heat building portion, or that's like a big part of it. So the warm up and cool down is kind of nice to have the same thing or very similar from class to class. We can change up that middle portion and create a unique experience for our students. So that's kind of the end of my practice and what I would do to flow through. And shavasana. So I noticed how that felt. It's like, all right, that seems pretty good. And if I find that I have more time or it went by pretty quick, add longer shavasana. I personally would like to have at least 10 minutes for shavasana. My recommendation is 10% of class. So if you have a 60-minute class, have 6 minutes. And you can start that, you know, at the 50-minute mark because you still have to get people out of shavasana and on their way. So be careful not to consistently go over. Respect people's times. You can go over a few minutes, but more than that, and it gets a little bit frustrating for some people. So make sure that you are ending on time as best you can. And an hour is actually so short. So when you have those like 5 pose sequences like I just did, it's like standing poses, 5 poses, seated poses, 4 to 5 poses, supine poses, that 4 to 5 block of poses. It's easy to just like grab that out of your back pocket and say, I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do this 5 pose sequence. So that makes it kind of easy. Step by step, add 5 components or poses per step in those within those 3 sections. I hope that was understandable. I hope that was helpful. I probably won't do an hour-long class on this. I just wanted to run through it and run it by you to see how it goes, and let me know how it goes for you. So if you are creating your own yoga class sequences, I love to see them. I love to do a little audit and give you suggestions, or I always like think about it in the way that I would flow through it too. So I'm like, oh, this would feel good here, or maybe you should add that there. And try it for yourself. And the only way you're going to get better is by practicing. Practicing teaching, practicing the actual poses and transitions and sequences, practice cueing. And if you want a little bit more in depth on all of that, I do have that like workbook, ebook that runs through a bunch of lessons and video links and also some cueing exercises that can help you for your class building techniques and whatnot. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye.